What it do, Dream Team? It's your boy Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are at 15 things I love about living in Australia. Best things about living in Australia as a foreigner. And before we dive into this, y'all know what I'm gonna ask. Dive into that subscribe button, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. What we got?
If you're thinking of moving to Australia, you're probably wondering what the benefits are. I moved to Australia from the UK in 2015, and I'm going to run through 15 things that I love about living in Australia. I'm Lisa from Australian travel and migration blog dreamingofdownunder.com, and I've travelled almost the whole coastline of Australia, and I've spent the last 6 years living in Sydney. So here are the reasons that I think you should move to Australia. The first thing I love about Australia is how diverse the landscape is. Everybody knows that Australia has amazing beaches, but it also has a huge array of different types of scenery, and it's a really enormous country with lots of different climates. As well as beaches, Australia has beautiful mountain ranges, it has different types of rainforest, it has ancient forests with some of the tallest tree species in the world, it has desert, it has dry.
Lots of desert. You got lots of desert, but oh my god, these views are so beautiful, bro. They're so beautiful and incredible.
Scenery with salt lakes. It's got the Great Barrier Reef. The scenery in Australia is phenomenal.
It looks like
Number two is the variation in climate across the country. Because Australia is so huge, it has lots of different climates in the different regions. So I live in Sydney, which is kind of a middle of the range climate for Australia. But if I want a hot holiday, I can just fly a couple of hours north to Queensland and it's high 20s. If I want to go skiing, I could fly a couple of hours southwest and go to a ski resort. So really, whatever time of year it is, you can find somewhere to suit whatever kind of holiday you want. Also, if you're moving here, you can find the right kind of climate for you. I love Sydney climate. It's got hot summers, a little bit too humid, but that's okay. And the winters are mild, but not too cold. So that's just right for me.
That's dope, right? Hey, we got a little bit of something for everybody. What, you want to ski? We got you. You like hotter weather? We got you. You want somewhere in the middle? We got you. Everybody gets what they want.
Number three is the coffee culture in Australia. Coming from the UK, it is popular to go out for coffee there, but they generally have the big chain stores like Starbucks and Nero and Costa, whereas in Australia they've got a sort of older coffee culture, which apparently came from the early Italian settlers and Greek settlers, I think. So Melbourne in particular is very coffee cultured, so they have lots and lots of really independent small cafes rather than big chains. They do have some big chains, but they've lots and lots of really arty, kind of funky cafes. Even the most untrendy of suburbs can have like really, really nice cafes. So I do love that about Australia. Also, it's very popular to go and meet friends for coffee in the morning. It has more of a breakfast culture in Australia. So living by the beaches like I do, you just go down and people are meeting friends for coffee, sitting outside cafes, going for walks. It's a really nice culture.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard plenty about the coffee culture in Australia and how Australia just got the best coffee in the world. Just got the best coffee in the world.
Or it's Australia's healthcare system, which I think is brilliant. So it's not like in the UK where it's completely publicly funded and everything's free, but it's also not completely privately funded. It's kind of a hybrid. So you can get a lot of services for free here. You can see a GP for free. Hospital treatment is generally free. And then a lot of things are partly subsidised by the government, so you pay the bill and then you get a refund of part of that amount. So I think just having that extra money in the system, also it's quite common to have health insurance here, more so I would say than in the UK. But having all that extra funding in the system just means that it's not as strained, so it's very, very quick to get medical attention. In my experience, you can see a GP on the day. Even if I look at appointments online in the afternoon, I can still have a choice of doctors for that day. To have an x-ray, you usually just walk straight in and don't need an appointment. With scans, I've found that you can normally get an appointment the next day. Also with seeing specialists, it's quite easy to get an appointment to see a specialist. It's not like in the UK where you kind of have to, you know, be half dead before they'll let you go and see you. I had multiple chronic illnesses that I had for years in the UK, and I couldn't get anywhere with the doctor. I got sent for a few tests. They did a few blood tests. I was just told, no, you're imagining it, basically. Here, the first time I went to see a GP, they did blood tests. She immediately sent me to see a specialist, and I got to choose what kind of specialist depending on what symptom I was most worried about. I saw a neurologist on the same day in the GP surgery. He just happened to be working there that day. He sent me for tests. I came back, he diagnosed me with a neurological condition. He then got me referred to a rheumatologist, and I saw her. She diagnosed me on the spot with fibromyalgia. Basically just did like they press points on your body and see if it hurts. Count how many times you scream. She diagnosed me on the spot with that, did some blood tests, went back to see her, and I got diagnosed with an autoimmune disease that was like the underlying cause. So just within like a few months, I had years and years of illness just diagnosed like that. It's such...
I swear to God, yeah, that's different. As she talking about, you schedule an appointment and you seeing somebody like these people on the same day. Like, are y'all dentists the same? Because with my dentist, bro, you got to schedule an appointment like a week or two out in advance. And if you want to see a specialist, oh my God. Yeah, you're going to be waiting a while. You're going to be waiting a while. This is crazy, though. This is absolutely crazy. Shout out to the Australian healthcare system. That's beautiful.
Such a good system. Number 5 is how friendly it is in Australia and what a sense of community there is. I live in Sydney, which is the busiest city. And I've heard people saying, yeah, it's really fast-paced, it's unfriendly, but I just haven't found that. I think compared to where I'm from in the UK, it's very friendly. It's very normal to say hello to strangers. Maybe if you're living right in the city centre, that might be a bit different. But I live in a beach area, and everyone's really friendly. Like whenever I walk the dog, I have multiple conversations with people. I don't start them. I'm not really that kind of person, but people always speak to you. People are so willing to help you out. It's a really, really friendly culture.
That's
Number
dope.
6 is the diverse nationalities in Australia. A really huge proportion of people in Australia were born overseas, and even a lot of Australians have parents who were born overseas, so it is a very accepting culture, I found, and it's really nice just to hear lots of different accents and meet people from different places. And I do find, because there's a lot of expats, it makes it a little bit easier to make friends, because generally I found expats are sort of actively looking to make friends, particularly if they're quite new. Number 7 is...
You know what I'm saying? I love the absolute friendliness, right? And I knew that about Australia. Very laid back, very friendly people. You can go up to anyone, talk to them, right? And more times than not, you're going to get, you know what I'm saying? They'll talk to you, they'll be friendly. And that's my Aussies out there.
Is a culture of being really respectful and polite to service workers, and just generally being sort of inclusive. I worked in retail in the UK as a student, and honestly the amount of moaning and abuse you got from customers, I hated it. People used to come in every day and complain. And here I worked in a clothes shop called Portman's when I was doing my work in holiday. And honestly, in 3 months, I only had one customer come in and moan. In 3 months.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. It's a different world. It's just not accepted to sort of take your misery out on people working in shops. And I don't know how the culture is so different in the UK. It was just constant moaning, and the shop's not set up right, and why is this upstairs, and I wanted...
That's like US, you're going to get a lot of complaints too here in the US. But 3 months and one complaint, bro, that's crazy.
Discounts and...
That's crazy.
Just get some really angry customers, and here it's just not that culture. Like, people are just a lot politer, I find. Number 8 is how fair the wages are in Australia. The minimum wage is, I think, just over $22 an hour, which is quite high.
Crazy.
So it's actually not standard to tip
Minimum wage.
waiting staff in restaurants, because the wages basically are high enough.
They're making bank.
So they don't have to rely on tips. So I couldn't really believe it when I started house sitting in Australia. Sometimes people would leave me cash to give to their cleaners and gardeners, and I just couldn't believe how high it was. That's why I started charging for house sitting, because I realised I wasn't. I was doing too much work for the rent I was receiving. Honestly, some of the cleaners in the houses I've been in get paid $65 an hour each. Some of the gardeners were getting paid about $60 or $70 to mow the lawn, which took them 15 minutes. The wages here can be really high for service jobs, particularly if you're self-employed. Apparently the average full-time wage in Australia is around $90,000 a year, which is really high. So yeah, wages are really...
The average, 90,000. Bro, why am I still here? Why am I not in Australia, bro? They're making bank over there. Bank. What am I doing?
Really good here. Number 9 is how supportive Australia is of small independent businesses. They do have big chain stores and things here, but there seems to be a really high proportion of small businesses basically. So shops, like boutiques, cafes, just creative businesses. It's really well supported here. I'm a business owner and I get a lot of support from the government, and I get emails with useful information. And also during COVID, the government kind of payments to help out people, even with small businesses, was really great. So you are really well looked after. I feel like it's quite valued here. Number 10 is the variation of different foods here. So from supermarket food to restaurants, you've got all kinds of nationalities. So particularly with so many different nationalities living in Australia, they do really cater for that, I find, in the supermarkets and restaurants. And I'm gluten-free and pescatarian, so I'm a little bit fussy, but I can always find something to eat. Occasionally I maybe have to have a salad, but generally, even if I ask in a restaurant, they will cater to being gluten-free, so they are pretty good about that kind of stuff. Number 11 is the bird life in Australia. It's one of the first things that I noticed when I moved over to Australia for the first time when I was a student. They have lots of very big, colourful birds here, very noisy. They have lots of parrots, they're really beautiful. The birds tend to be very tame as well. I've occasionally had them land on my leg. Sometimes they'll try and steal your food and stuff. Actually, cyclists have to wear helmets. This isn't a good thing.
The magpies. Them magpies be coming for you. They ain't having it. They ain't playing no games.
With like straws sticking out, because the magpies will swoop and peck them. Yeah, that's not a thing I love, but it is unusual. But the birds are generally very beautiful. Number 12 is the unique wildlife in Australia. So as well as birds, there's all sorts of other animals, and yes, there are some dangerous ones, but it's very unlikely you're going to be killed by one. As well as kangaroos, you've got lots and lots of other marsupials, you've got quokkas, you've got wallabies, wombats, all sorts of animals, lots and lots of dolphins and amazing marine life. Insects are really interesting. I know some of them are scary, but like all sorts of funny hairy caterpillars and amazing butterflies. And once I just walked past this tree in Sydney and it had these jewel bugs on, which were just these amazing metallic, like blue and orange colours. Really, really amazing. Number 13
what
is
are those? I don't think I've ever seen those.
The outdoor lifestyle in Australia. Because of all the amazing scenery and the generally mild weather, it is very common to enjoy outdoor activities. So things like hiking is really popular, water sports. There's lots of really well-marked walking tracks along the coastlines and through national parks. So there's just so much opportunity to get out there and enjoy yourself. It's very common to go down to the beach in the morning if you live by a beach. There's people swimming and doing boot camps on the beach in the mornings. People just meeting up for coffee. It's just very, very outdoorsy. Number 14 is that the properties tend to be quite large here. So Sydney and Melbourne are quite expensive, yes, but in general the houses are bigger than in the UK. You generally have a separate laundry room, even in like 1 or 2 bedroom flats I've been in, they quite often have a separate laundry, and you just get a little bit more space than you tend to in the UK. Number 15 is how safe it is in Australia. So everywhere has crime, of course, but generally I've always felt very safe here, and I do think it's got fairly low crime rates compared to a lot of other countries. I mean, Sydney's the busiest city here, and I've house sat in over 70 suburbs, I think, and I've never ended up anywhere that's felt rough or unsafe. I've always felt very, very safe here. A lot of people don't even lock their doors in Sydney, like even people who live in the city. Honestly, I house sit in some of the places I've been, they're like, oh, we don't use a key. I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's always worth locking your doors, but it is a very sort of generally safe culture here. Okay, those are my...
Yeah, I feel like I always lock the door no matter what, but to feel that safe is dope, to where you just don't even worry about, you ain't worried about nobody robbing you. You ain't worried about nobody coming in and taking anything. Don't even need to lock the door. We're good.
15 things that I love about Australia. Hope you enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments if you're thinking of moving to Australia, or if you're already over here and the things that you really love about it. If you enjoyed this video, please like and leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching. Are you biting?
That's all we got for this one. You guys got a favorite video suggestion, you can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. It's your boy Neal. Out.